Thank you all for coming. The agenda is yeah, good. You can see the agenda behind us. I just want to review it really quickly before we jump into it. Call to order, that's my job. We'll do a roll call of membership, and then I get to have my 25-minute soliloquy, welcome by the chair. The minutes, we have a new chair that will be nominated, hopefully tonight. Updates by Jen and Sharon, and then other business that we may need to attend to. With that, I'm calling the meeting to order, and Jen, would you please take roll call?
Demita Beck-Taylor. Here. Robert Deal.
Here.
Dale Grimes.
Here.
Jennifer Hackett. Here. Midori Lockett.
Here.
Jeff McCormick.
Here.
Beth Reardon. John Sherman.
Here.
Lisa Smith. Michael Sullivan.
Wonderful. We have a quorum. I appreciate that, Jen. So there is I reviewed the agenda already, so I promise you it's not a 25-minute speech. Mostly to say that tonight is the meeting tonight is really to help to get an update from the team on how we're doing in terms of with our management plan. So that's kind of our big piece, and of course the other piece is with my term ending in December, we will also be nominating a new chair. So that's kind of the big pieces. But there's a whole bunch with a zero waste plan update. So let's make sure we move right into that. But first of all, did everyone receive a copy of the minutes and have they reviewed them? I'm assuming yes, and I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So move.
So moved by Jeff McCormick. A second.
I'll go ahead.
Miss Demita Beck-Taylor seconded it. And so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. The next big issue on the table is, as I mentioned, my term is ending. We're going to need a new chair. And so I would entertain a nomination from the board for a new chair.
I would like to nominate Demita Beck-Taylor.
Is there a second to that?
So move.
Seconded by Jeff. Any questions or comments or other nominations before we move forward?
It might be good to ask her if she's okay.
I'm not going to ask her that. That's why I'm asking, do you have any questions, Demita? Do you have a speech prepared?
There's speeches. I do not oppose.
Well, that's a rousing excitement. Okay, so we have a nomination on the floor. Demita Beck-Taylor. She has said she's willing to serve if nominated. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Yay! Demita, I hand it over now to our new chairwoman.
Can we go to the next screen or back to the agenda? Thanks. All right. So now we'll receive updates from the zero waste plan from Sharon or Jen.
I don't have to stay on. Okay. So I wanted to cover just a couple of things. We'll start with construction and demolition legislation updates. So this has been one of the main projects that our team has been working on. As most of you know, we do have one staff member who her primary focus is construction and demolition, reuse and recycling, and our big goal is to have some requirements around construction and demolition material for the private sector, for recycling and diversion of construction demolition materials. So this slide here is just kind of going over what we have are looking at proposing. So a proposal that we've put together and drafted, really targeting large commercial construction and demolition projects. So similar to our permitting process, we require reporting for large construction and demolition projects. That does include large multifamily, but it does exclude the single family at this time. So trying to get those larger projects that are creating more waste. So targeting that, and then the way we're approaching this is looking at how we can identify specific materials that have a market and how we can phase in those materials and require those materials to be diverted over time based on those markets and the regional industry that's going on. So you'll see cardboard, metal and clean concrete, wood, shingles, brick, gypsum, scrap, and carpet are the top materials that we're looking at, and again, in a phased-in approach. And this would be built into the current permitting process that we already have is the idea. So that's how we would be able to, as somebody applies for a building permit, that we'd be able to look and see what are they planning to do? Does it meet these requirements to then allow them to move forward on their project? Another big part that we're looking at and have been doing a lot of research on is looking at how we can also make sure that material is going to a qualified receiving and recycling facility. So making sure that it's going to a location where we know that this material is being diverted. One of the things that we've heard from a lot of council members and a lot of folks are just wanting to make sure that there's transparency around what is actually happening with this material. So you can say something's being recycled, but is it actually getting from wherever it's being collected to where it's actually being turned into new goods and products and being reused? So we've incorporated this into the proposal. That would include some basics, required reporting, as well as a verified recovery rate from a third party, and then also material being weighed so that we've got the measurement can be the same across the board and consistent. We also are looking at how Metro government, so us as folks that do construction and demolition projects, how can we go above and beyond with this legislation? So how can we try to incentivize through the permitting process greater waste diversion beyond just recycling, but by prioritizing perhaps rehab or deconstruction, salvage through that process. And that would be looking at targeting the same projects that also are currently under the requirements for LEED certification for Metro government as well. So that's the idea. We're still drafting and in the process. So that's what this kind of gives you an idea of where we're at in that process. So we have been doing a lot of peer city research, looking at best practices across the country, not just locally, but looking at places that have actually implemented this type of legislation, what has worked, what hasn't worked, because it is fairly new across the country. Even, for California, they've been doing it for a while, but there's some lessons that we've been able to learn from their programs. So we've incorporated that in, also looking at, again, the local industry and what's going on here in terms of the construction, demolition, reuse, and recycling markets. We've also started some stakeholder engagement, mostly internal, and then also with our construction and demolition steering committee, trying to really draft something first and foremost that's going to work before we then start doing more broader stakeholder engagement. So try to get it really a really strong proposal first before we bring it to the fuller public. But we do anticipate doing that. We want to make sure that we're getting everybody, getting this in front of as many people as possible, working out all the kinks before we bring it to Metro Council. So we're in process. So basically anything in bold on this slide are things that are to be done. Everything that is not in bold and italicized are things that we have completed or in process of. We do want to look at a fiscal analysis as well. So just trying to better understand kind of what the costs associated with requiring recycling would be for projects. So that is in process. And then of course, once we get all that public kind of input and get a solid plan, we want to move that through council. So that is exciting stuff that we're working on, and hopefully we'll have more details for you in March or April or whenever our next meeting might be. Curbside recycling every other week. I almost don't want to say the words. Every other week recycling. So we are really moving forward on this. As many of you know, again, we have tried to get this over the finish line a couple of times and have had many issues, but we are looking at Q1. So we're really excited. We're not ready to release an actual date. As you can see, I have blanked it out on your screen here. But we will, we hope to announce a date soon, but the goal and target is Q1 to be able to move that forward. Is there anything else you want to add?
I just want to add that I really, truly believe we should call it fortnightly recycling collection. I just want to put that out there.
Very important detail.
Fortnightly. We're going to learn to dance when we.
Another thing I wanted to bring to your attention were some grant awards and opportunities. So we've actually been very fortunate. The Recycling Partnership has been very interested in Nashville and, of course, has wanted to help us with every other week recycling. They've actually given us a grant for just educational outreach, knowing that every other week recycling has been a bit tumultuous. So we're excited to be able to utilize some money from them to do a postcard mailing when we do move that forward, as well as potentially some other some outreach through that funding that we've got. We also did receive the TDEC recycling rebate. If you aren't familiar with that, they give out money every year to the top 5 cities as a rebate, so we were able to take advantage of that for some of our equipment expenses and for carts. We're also really excited. It's not official yet, but we have potentially secured some funding for a food waste collection pilot. It's not signed, sealed, and delivered, but it is essentially a verbal intent to award that to us. So we're really excited about being able to gather data and look at logistics of how a food waste collection program could work here in Nashville. We're really starting at square one, and it's important for us to be able to gather data, understand what kind of education is going to be required, what are the logistics, what type of containers, how many people are going to participate, and what are those participants going to need to be able to make a successful program that we can launch citywide. So this will be an exciting opportunity for us to start gathering some of that data. We're looking at a target of potentially 750 households. So that's really exciting. And then a few opportunities that are coming up. We are looking at the EPA just released their solid waste infrastructure recycling grant program, as well as the EPA or the Recycling Education and Outreach grant program. So those both came out of the infrastructure bill. So those are due January 16th, but there's going to be several rounds, it sounds like, of funding opportunities. So we're looking at that right now to identify what we potentially could apply for through those funding opportunities. And then last, I just wanted to update everybody on the grocery store packaging. I believe it was our last meeting that there was some discussion around this and trying to understand if there's any way we can encourage grocery stores and grocery chains here in Nashville. What are they doing around packaging, and can they do a little bit better to reduce that waste? So we did meet with Rob Eichert, excuse me. And he is the Tennessee Grocers and Convenience Store Association. He's with that group. So we were able to meet with him. And he was able to get us some information. He got us a report from Kroger and some of their sustainability goals. Basically, in short, most of your large grocery store food chains, they actually have some really, some pretty good and aggressive goals around sustainable packaging for their own brands. So Kroger and Food Lion that you see here, they have, most of them are 100% recyclable, compostable, or reusable for their brands upcoming in the next however many years. So Kroger, that was listed in their, 2020, that doesn't seem right. I wonder if I put that in wrong.
I think it's 2025.
It might be 2025. I apologize. I will correct that. And then Food Lion, again, was 2025. Additionally to that, so those are the brands that are like your Kroger brand, your private selection brand that's associated with Kroger, that type of thing. But then most of your other independent brands, especially your top bigger brands, they all also have sustainability goals as well for their packaging. So on the right-hand side here, you see the U.S. Plastics Pact. Those are just a number of groups that have signed on to that and are committed to reducing kind of the plastic waste in their packaging. So it was at least a report that we received. If anybody would like the full Kroger report that was sent, we can share that with everybody. There was about a page and a half that was about packaging on their report specifically. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer anything else about what we might be up to.
I've got one question.
Oh, push the button.
This is Beth Reardon. Do you know anything about when they're going to eliminate the plastic bags?
For Kroger, that's going to be, and I believe it's 2025 was their target date.
Was it?
And we'll look at that in the report. I think it's in the report. But when they first announced that Zero Hunger, Zero Waste, which was 2018 or 19, I know it was pre-pandemic. I'm pretty sure it was right around 2025.
Thanks.
When you send out this information, can you include a link to the U.S. Plastics Pact?
Yes, absolutely.
Regarding the food waste collection component, are you targeting a particular part of town for the 750 households?
So we're not targeting a particular part of town. In fact, we really would like to try and get a really broad kind of grouping across, hit every single district in across Davidson County to try and understand those different areas and how they might be different in terms of food collection. So we're really trying to get a good kind of broad swath while not also recognizing that collection, the closer you are together, the more efficient and cost effective it is for those routes. So trying to figure out how we marry those two together.
The C&D steering committee, is that a council committee, or is that an independent committee set up by the mayor's office or something?
No, it's actually just an internal committee for us and for our
okay.
staff. So they are just, they're a group of people that play some role in construction and demolition. So we've got architects, academics, contractors, we've got haulers, recyclers, all different kinds of groups that are involved in that to help us better understand. Metro government is involved as well, like general services. So we have just a whole lot of different people that are interested in seeing construction, demolition, recycling, and diversion move forward to help us as kind of experts in the industry to help guide us as we kind of move through different C&D activities.
More questions? So how large is large on the C&D, with the legislation? I'm sure we've been told that, but I don't remember. It's like, is it like large office buildings? Obviously not residential houses, but what's in between those two?
It's a really good question. We're trying to figure out right now for the permitting process. So through Metro's permitting process, the only way that the actual permit application software works, the only thing that we can identify scale of a project is through cost. We recognize that cost really for waste diversion maybe not be, it's actually one of the feedback that we've gotten from some of our stakeholders so far is that cost is not directly related to waste. Square footage would be a better way to do that. Right. So we're trying to explore what that could look like. Right now, we're calling essentially anything, I think that's over $50,000 is in terms of construction costs is included in our permitting program. But that's something we're going to be looking at very closely so that we make sure that we're capturing the types of large commercial projects that actually generate large amounts of waste and make sure that we have staff capacity as well to review all of those permit plans.
Got it. So question 2, thank you. So we don't know yet. So in the permitting process, and this is permit for like they go to get a construction permit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We don't have to know what the square footage is of a building?
No.
Wow.
Can I have Allie Omens come up here and answer that question?
Well, anyway, that's just kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, and Jen, did you say $50,000 or more, or 50,000 square feet?
Construction cost, yeah. So if the construction cost is $50,000 or greater, then right now we're just asking them for a report.
That would include a lot of residential construction as well.
It actually does. Most like single family demolition is really cheap. Most of them are coming in around $8,000, $10,000, and Allie can speak to it.
Yeah, on the square footage front, the issue for us is what the permitting system allows us to see as administrators. So we do collect the square footage. It's just not able to be accessed by us in the review as a marker to, for example, we have a review fee right now that allows us to take back some of the cost for review. So that's tied to that construction cost. And that's the only linkage. It's more of a technical thing than than our choice.
And I just want to add, it does not include like single family or duplex. We're trying to focus more on commercial, large multifamily mixed use, that type of building.
Right. I'm sorry for all the nitpicky stuff, but the recycling partnership, is that a federal, what is the recycling partnership? That's funding
Yes, so the Recycling Partnership is a nonprofit organization that's funded by the industry to fund recycling programs and try and advance recycling programs. So they do grants. They actually were part of the people that were going to try and help us pay for trucks for every other week recycling. As it turned out, we had the state grant, so we had to match that 50%, so it didn't really become beneficial at that time. But they are going to fund the education and the communication around every other week recycling. But they do this. I mean, they've offered to put upgraded technology, for example, in private MRFs through grants to try and increase the types of material that can be captured. So they are funded by all of the people in waste that you probably are thinking about right now.
Got it. And MRFs, mixed-use recycling facilities, right?
Yeah.
Material recovery
Thank
facility.
you. There you go. Material recovery. It's so much better. So just a big picture on this all. I mean, everybody understands, right, that we know that food and C&D were two of the big ones. And thank you. Y'all have been going after the two big ones. So it's exciting to see. And for those on the board who've been around a long time, we know that this idea of every other week pickup has been here for at least a decade. We've been asking this question. So, 10 years, that's not too bad. So anyway, thank you. And Jen, it's nice to hear somebody besides Sharon talking all the time. Teasing. I'm just teasing. But thank you. Thank you, Davina. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Does anyone have any other questions? All right, we can move to any other business of the board.
I do have one item.
Okay.
Chair, yeah. So I want to just kind of talk for a minute about my personal history on this board. I still remember my very first meeting was, I believe, August of 2002. And the chairman was a gentleman by the name of John Sherman. And I have been to all but one or maybe two meetings. I think I was sick once, and I can't remember what happened the other time. But John and I have had a very long and I don't know how to describe it, solid waste relationship. And I'm really sad to see you go. I've got about 4 years before I retire, and I tried to convince him to stick around with me for 4 more years. It could have been a presidential campaign. But I don't know how many people realize the amount of time that John has spent over the years thinking about waste reduction, talking about waste reduction, going to meetings and advocating for us. It is, and he's got a full-time job where he travels a lot and periodically has to go fix the family home up in Michigan. And I'm, of course, calling him and talking to him and everything, but it's difficult to find people that are willing to commit over 20 years of service to solid waste. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were a little surprised that there was a solid waste board. I mean, we're not one of the, sort of well-known sexy boards that everybody wants to go to, and there's a line out the door. But this board is a group of people that are just trying to move better practices around waste reduction forward. And John, you are the epitome of that person. You have participated in every single mayoral sustainability committee, whatever it was called. You have advocated. I think a lot of people don't realize that behind the scenes, John is talking to people and trying to help us move stuff forward. Talking to David, can't remember his last name, at the Tennessean. Yes, who, wrote articles, and I believe you had some stuff published as well. But I will truly miss seeing you here. If you want to come back, we can set a chair for you with your name on it.
I think we need an honorary, public participation chair
And you're going to have that chair?
Yeah, we're going to name after some of our favorite public participants.
Yeah, and on that note, John has been one of the most patient people when it comes to a fault almost, allowing people to express their opinions, sometimes for long periods of time. I timed one once where one of the members of the public spoke longer than anybody else on the committee had spoken, and John believes very strongly in allowing the public and allowing people to express their concerns, their opinions, and as much as it pained me, because it meant the meeting went on very long, sometimes hours, it is a very great example of how much you care about not just waste, but sustainability in the environment and making sure Nashville moves forward and is a leader. So I do wish you well. I hope you come back. And when I notified the administration that after all your years of service you are leaving us, they are not giving you a check. But you are going to get a certificate of appreciation, which I would like to read. I will have to put glasses on. Oh, it's small, fancy writing. This certificate is presented to John Sherman in recognition of your dedication to the Davidson County Solid Waste Region Board and over 20 years of service as chairperson, including serving on Mayor Dean's Green Ribbon Committee, Mayor Barry's Livable Nashville Committee. You've probably forgotten some of these. Mayor Cooper's Sustainable Advisory Committee. Your passion and willingness to volunteer your time and knowledge has been the driving force behind Nashville's Zero Waste Plan and has greatly contributed to moving Nashville towards a more sustainable city. And the mayor really appreciates all your years of service. We also have parting T-shirt for you.
Oh, dear Lord. I thought I was going to get a year's supply of a really good IPA.
That's possible as well.
That's about it, right. So thank you, and thank the mayor. I will send him a letter myself. But, you know, I mean, it's in a way, this group and this board is what's making it all possible. Yeah, I get to be the mouthpiece on it, but there's so much passion here. And I think about our big moments, and I won't bore everybody with them, but, you know, we had some pretty heated permit hearings, you know, decisions to make that some of you were here for. Some of you, I'm looking down, it's like Beth's going, yeah, I was there. that were really challenging, and also how much fun in terms of, wow, just, you know, we all talk about and this may sound speechy, but it's like we all talk about what it means to be public participants and participating in process, and we have them. And we get to offer both our participation and listen to others participate, even if we don't want to hear it. And so I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed working with all of you. The way that we developed both our two big iterations, and especially this last one, that was really something special, that we were thoughtful. We were thoughtful from the beginning, and we had great input from the public about how to make it better. And it was a really great process, and I'm proud of that for all of us, and for what we have set in motion. And of course, we know that we get to only propose on those pieces. Yet, your team, Sharon, has picked up the ball. I mean, you were running with the ball long before we were here, but has really pushed that forward. And so I thank all of you. And yeah, Sharon and I, because as being chair, we worked closely together. We had a lot of those back and forth about the agenda. I mean, just the simplest things, but also, well, how are we doing on that lawsuit, or what's going on with this? And, you know, Sharon was not only there, but also everybody knows, you know, if there is a czarina of recycling and waste, it's Sharon. Although
okay, wait a minute here. We're here to talk about you.
Soon to be replaced by Jen. Well, being replaced by Jen. But it's a team, and I think all of you. I mean, Jeff, Beth, Jennifer. Some of you have been around a long time, as myself. Demita, welcome to the club. Bob, Midori, Mr. Grimes, this is the first time we've had you in a first meeting, so sorry that you're having to hear all this maudlin talk. I've really enjoyed it, and it's both, I don't want to go, and, you know, it's time. And I think, I was talking to Sharon today, final thing is that I have the privilege of working with what I call young people, mid-30s to early 40s. So that's obviously not young for all of you, and the energy and the ideas, I'm looking at the audience, thank you, who are just, Jen, who are just bringing just the new energy, and it's fantastic. And so we're going to have new energy in our new chair with Demita. So thank you all, and I think we should all be proud of what we've done, and I'm not going to stop bugging people about what we ought to be doing. It just won't be in this venue, at least not publicly in this venue. Thank you. I'll be lobbying you instead. Thanks.
Thank you. That was very kind, Sharon. Thank you for those words of encouragement. Does anyone else have any other business? All right. I can motion or entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
I'll second.
Meeting closed. Do I get to use the gavel?
Yes.
Yay.
We're all in favor of that.
Yep.
Yes.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.